Hello everyone, my name is Rajesh Chatterjee, and this video today we're gonna talk about a concept called batch apex. So what is batch apex? Before even we talk about what is batch and how it works, right? Let me just quickly explain two concepts here. One is called multi-tenant architecture. What is multi-tenant architecture? And second thing we will discuss that is called governor limit in Salesforce. So Salesforce is basically a cloud product, right? So it's nothing you're that installing in your laptop or system, right? You as a business user, or you as a customer, or you as a Salesforce admin or developer, right? All you need is a browser, your internet connections, you can log in, you can start working, correct? So it's a cloud product, right? It's a web applications. Because everything is happening into cloud and there's a server that has been involved here, right? There are certain limitations that you have to maintain, right? And the architecture that Salesforce follows is basically called multi-tenant architecture. Let me explain with an example. What is this multi-tenant architecture, by the way? Let's say you are actually staying in a 10th floor building, right? And in the 10th floor building, you have a water tank on top of the floor, right? Suppose every floor there's a family staying, right? You are staying in top of that floor, or maybe like 5th floor somewhere. If you alone consume the whole water from the tank, right? So let's say you just open up your water line, and you're using most of the water from the water tank. What happens? The other tenants who is staying with you, paying the same water bill, will be affected, right? They don't get enough water. So in this case, what if your house owner of that, or the building owner says that, hey, you can use only this much water in a day, not more than that. If he has forced that limit, then what's going to happen? You cannot use more than that. The moment you try to use more water than whatever has been given to you as a limit, your owner will get notified and you will immediately talk to you what's going on, correct? So the same thing happened in Salesforce. Salesforce is a multi-tenant architecture. It means the same Salesforce server is been shared with multiple tenants. Tenants basically you, me, whoever is working on Salesforce. Right, let's say there are 1 million of Salesforce developers all over the world, are writing code and using the same Salesforce server. Right now, if you just have written learn Salesforce Apex, right? And so you are trying to let's say you have written some code which is trying to update 5 trillions of record at a time. So 5 trillions of record, if you want to manipulate or update at a time, this should be a huge headache for the server, isn't it? Correct? Because of you are trying to manipulate 5 trillions of record at a time, what happens is your server will be slowed down. And the other tenant, right, other developers, other customers, whoever, they also have paid same money, right, to use the Salesforce product. Other tenant will be affected because your code is putting so much of load in the server is slowed down, and other tenants are getting affected. That's the problem with multi-tenant architecture. I mean, that's not a problem, right? So whenever it comes to a multi-tenant architecture, right, Salesforce is falling into that category, and Salesforce is enforcing you some limit, and that limit is called governor limit. It's not that US India governor limit, right? It's a Salesforce provided limit. We as a developer, we always have to know what are the limits that Salesforce is enforcing, and we have to make sure that our Apex code is actually is falling under that that limit. Okay, let me just quickly give you a limit, a real-time problem. Okay, so understand this problem, and we'll try to see how can we solve this problem with not a normal Apex class, but with a batch Apex class. For an example, let's say there is this is something that we did recently for a customer, and we were actually having a manufacturing customer, okay, and the customer was having like so much of their inactive distributors. I mean, the manufacturing customers was having many distributors, and their product was being sold to the distributors, and the distributor job was to sell to the retail customers, right? That's how their business was going on. So the manufacturing customers was actually using Salesforce for a very long time, right? And what happened is they had so many distributors in the database which was inactive. Let's say, for an example, there are suppose 1,000 of, or like 50,000 or like lakhs of 100,000 distributors data which were like inactive. They're not at all active, right? I mean, they're not doing any active business with the customer, but they are actually capturing the database. Now the admin or the consultant that was working for the customer has decided that, we will write some kind of a mechanism which will check end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, whatever time you decide, which will check, is there any inactive customer or the distributors are there? If it is, delete it. Correct. Now there could be like 100 inactive distributors, there could be 100,000. We do not know. When the system, see, this is where you have to think as a developer, right? So today your business is just starting, they have a very minimum data. But tomorrow when they increase their business after like 5 years, 4 years down the line, the same business might have huge data coming into the database. So your code should be sustainable when the business is dealing with a lot of data. This is where the batch apex is coming, right? Salesforce governor limit has a limit, which is, last video that I was showing, remember I told you that, and the test class video, right? I showed you that when you're trying to, fetch with SQL query, when you try to fetch the data, your SQL query can fetch maximum 50,000 record in one transaction. That's the limit. For an example, let's say you have 100,000 distributors who are not inactive. So your code has to go and find all 100,000 inactive distributors and make them inactive or delete them from the database. So your SQL query that you're writing, which is trying to fetch 100,000 accounts or distributor data, it will fail. Why? Let me show you this. This is the governor limit page. Okay. So if you scroll down, do you see this? Total number of SQL query issued in one transaction. By the way, there's something called synchronous, asynchronous. What is synchronous? What is asynchronous? We're going to talk about it in a separate video. But normally in one transaction means, let's say you have your Apex class has been executed. That is one transaction. It might take a milliseconds to be executed. In that transaction, you cannot have more than 100 SQL query executed. In that same transaction, right, a SQL query cannot fetch more than 50,000 record. Check this second row. Which means if your SQL query, if you have to update, if you have to delete all the inactive distributor, which is coming 100,000 as a bulk data, that SQL query that you're writing will definitely try to fetch 100,000 record at a time. And the moment you try to fetch, your Apex class will break. Guys, this is where the batch Apex is coming into the picture. Whenever you have a lot of data to process, right, your normal Apex class will fail because there's a governor limit coming into the picture, and the limit says that total number of record retrieved by the SQL query is only 50,000. The moment it hits that 50,001 record, your Apex class will fail. Your code will break. So this is where the batch Apex concept is coming into the picture. And I'm not going to scare you. The Salesforce, it has made the coding so easy for a developer, right? It's not some other technology where you have to write so much of code, right? Batch Apex is just a concept that you have to know, nothing that you have to write from scratch. Everything has been done for you. You just have to know the concept and you have to know the ready-made code inside your Apex class. That's it. So I'm going to explain you this video. I'm just theoretically explaining you what is batch class and how it works. Next video, I'm going to show you a code. I will write a code and explain what is this batch class is doing and every single line of code that is there in that screen, right? So basically the problem the batch class is solving, when you try to deal a lot of data in one shot, your normal Apex class will fail, and that's where your batch Apex will come into the picture. Batch Apex, what it does basically, even let it be like 1 trillion of record. What batch Apex will do, batch Apex will fetch that same 1 trillion of record, but not in a single time. What it will do is that 1 trillion of record will be divided into batches, and the batch size could be minimum 200 to maximum 2000. You're getting me, right? So if you have 1 trillion of record, your batch job will just divide that 1 trillion of record into 200 or 2000, whatever batch size that you want to give as a developer. So 1 trillion divided by, let's say 2000, it's too much. Like the batch size, like every transaction, only 2000 record will be fetched and then processed. So you will never hit the limit. It might take so much of time. Sometime a batch, it runs in the night. It takes like a couple of hours to finish because it is dealing with a lot of data. But your batch class is actually dividing all 1 million, 1 trillion of record into like small batch size like 200 or 2000. So in every transaction, only 2000 record will be processed. correct? So if you have, like, let's say, for an example, if you have 60,000 records, what happened? 60,000 divided by 2,000. This many time your batch class will run, and end of the day, your job will be done. It will take some time. It will not done in just few seconds. 60,000 record to process, it takes some time, because batch takes only 2,000 in one single transaction, 2,000 or 200. So batch Apex is just dividing all the data into small chunks and processing it. That's it. This way, your batch class, your batch Apex concept will help you not to hit that limit, but to process that entire records, right? Definitely when you're dealing with a customer which is having an enterprise business, so they will be having a lot of data, right? So you as a developer, when you write a code, have to keep this in mind, that today my data volume is less. Tomorrow, what if the business grow? What if there is like a lot of data coming in? Will my code work? If not, then you have to write batch class instead of Apex class. That's the only difference. Apex class also can do the same thing. Batch class also can do the same thing, same data manipulation. But the thing is, batch class will be applicable when you think that when you have a lot of data. That's it. Okay. So next video, I'm going to show you what to write in the batch class, and let me just explain line by line all the codes that is been given by Salesforce. Okay. See you in the next video.